Back with another Ask Skill Builder. This one is number 6 in our series of Ask Skill Builder, and we got another crop of questions in, and I want to thank everybody who sent them in and everyone who continues to send them in. So they're coming in thick and fast now, so let's get on with these ones. This is from John Collins, and he sent us in some pictures. His question is, he said, great channel, really love the content and everything, so that's really good. Thank you very much for that. We like a little bit of encouragement. We need to give you a bit of encouragement now, I think, because when you start looking at these pictures, this is a house that John is looking at. I don't think he's gone as far as getting a structural survey. You can kind of see why in a way, but what he's saying is, a lot of people must have looked at this house, and a lot of people have walked away from it, I would say, because it looks on the face of it pretty horrendous. Now, depends where it is, depends how much the people want for the house, how low they're willing to go. You can see that it's got a bit of neglect there, to say the least, and a few smashed windows and so on. So I would say that it's not going to be cheap, it's not going to be easy. It's rendered cob, what we call cob in the south of England. There'd be different terms for this around the country, but basically what it is loads of stones, sometimes just old rubble, and it's all stuck together with cement. They just laid it and then put a bit of mortar with it and then a bit more. And the problem is with it, it's cob, it's like a pile of marbles, if you like. You don't have the same structural integrity that you do with brickwork, where the whole thing is bricked across. You could take a section of brickwork out and the rest of it will just sort of arch and hold itself up. With this, if you pull the wrong bit out, then the thing will collapse like a pile of marbles or something. So it's the render really that's holding the thing together. Now the problem is, if it's an old house and the cob is kind of sand and lime, it's not strong sand and cement, and you go and stick a really strong render coating on the outside, which is what I would guess they've done here, it means that any movement on the inside is going to cause that render to crack, and you can see lots of examples on these pictures of where that's happened. So it would be very difficult. The whole lot's going to be hacked off for a start. That's a given. The next thing I'd be looking to do is to mesh the whole thing up. Now, whether you mesh it up with an alkali resistant fiberglass mesh, or whether you go for an Expomel, which is a stainless steel mesh, but you need to get something on there to keep all that render together and to make sure that it doesn't all start cracking up. And then the render needs to be a little bit forgiving. It doesn't need to be as hard and strong as it was, because it needs to move slightly with the building. And even then, I think it would be difficult to stop it cracking in the future, because you get movement in these buildings and it's going to come across. Quite honestly, as I say, it's all down to the price. It's all down to whether that is cheap enough to allow you to do a lot of work on it, and it also depends on where it is in the country, and that we don't know. But it looks to me like a nice sized property. It looks like the roof is very, very nice. At some point they've had the roof redone, and you'd have to look inside to see what kind of damage there was to the structural timbers, because they probably didn't have that roof done before it caused damage. And they've put an extension on the side of it, which is not a very attractive looking extension, but I'm guessing you could extend that a bit more. You probably find that you could just rebuild those walls with block work, almost one at a time. Support the structure inside, support the roof, support the floors, take out that front elevation, get a couple of brickies in, 2 weeks work, say, to rebuild that front elevation in block work. See if that would start to beef the thing up a bit. It just depends where the movement is, and it also depends what the ground is. If it's clay, then it's going to keep moving around a lot. But if it's on something reasonable, bit of sand, bit of chalk or whatever, I would like it. I'd like it as a property, because it looks like it's got a nice plot, a nice bit of land, and it's got potential, even if you knocked it flat and built something else. But there you go, John. It's hard to say, really. It's not for the faint-hearted. That's what I will say. If you're up for it and you've got a few quid, you're not going to get a mortgage on it. That's the one thing, really. So it's going to be, somebody's going to buy it, developer, and you always have to ask why nobody's bought it. If it looks like a bargain, if it looks too good to be true, probably is too good to be true. The next question is from Tom Dalgliesh, and Tom has a bit of damp in his bathroom, and he's made us a nice video here, so let's have a look at it.
Hi Skill Builder. We moved into this house about a year ago now, and one of the first jobs we did was to repaint the bathroom. But very shortly after, we started to develop this damp problem, which has been growing ever since. We don't really know what to do, so we're just hoping maybe you could provide a bit of advice and help us determine what we need to do to correct it. Thank you.
Okay, Tom, I think I actually emailed you after this because I didn't have quite enough information there. It was good what you did, but I really wanted to see the outside of that roof in a bit more detail. And again, this is the golden rule here. Send as much as you can. Even if you think it's irrelevant, send as much footage as you can or photographs, because it all helps. And what I saw subsequently from the other photographs that he sent me, he got out on the roof and did a couple of photographs on a bit of flat roof, so that was great because actually it was pouring with rain when he did it. What we discovered is that rainwater pipe that runs off the top of the roof there is running straight down the roof, and it's running into the gutter below, and then that's got a rainwater pipe. So what he's got is he's got two lots of water accumulated in one specific area. Now obviously when it rains, that's a lot of water coming down from all over that roof, concentrated into that area. And what's happening is it's running over those gutters, and it's running down the outside of the wall, it's running down the joint between the gable end there. The first thing I do there is to move those downpipes from the gutters. They've got to be staggered, they've got to go somewhere else, because chucking all that water down in one space on that roof is going to cause a problem, as it has caused a problem. So before you go anywhere towards trying to seal the damp off, get rid of the cause of it. Now, a lot of people don't bother going out in the rain to look around their house, and it's a hell of an education if you do. If the next time it's really pouring with rain, get an umbrella and walk around your house and just see what's happening, because you'll find overflowing gutters, blocked down pipes, all kinds of things which we just don't notice until they start causing problems like damp walls, like that's happened here. So it's always a good idea to have a look and see what's happening to the rainwater. And in this case, once he's done that, once he's actually got rid of those rainwater pipes, or moved one of them at least to somewhere else to lessen the load, he can then start coating the outside of that wall with something like dry zone cream, which will just seep into the pointing and start to dry that off and make that a bit water repellent, and then get the sealant, get some kind of silicone mastic or something like that, and make a sealed joint down the edge there where you can see that he's got a join between what we call the soffit of the fascia and the end of the roof. At one time this was a roof structure, and now it's a livable area. It's like an attic bathroom, if you like, and so it's all in the detail with those things. You've really got to be careful that you don't cause these problems. And obviously what somebody's done is a loft conversion. They've just gone up there, put the gutter on, chucked the downpipe down there because that was the most convenient place, and walked away from it. So another little thing that a little bit of thought from the builder could have solved that problem. Anyway, thanks for that. Thanks for the video and the additional material. Okay, the next question we got is from Alan Forder. Hello, Alan. And Alan says, very, very simple question here. He said, I'm doing some bathroom tiling. I want to put some coving up around the ceiling at the top, and he wants to stick up something like the super cove, which we did a video on, which is what he saw. And he said that the trouble is that the tiling is going to stick out, 10mm thick tiles, and they're going to stick out further than the coving, he thinks, by the time he's got adhesive on them. So he's saying, would it be okay if I tiled up to the top first and then stuck the coving on, rather than having to try and pack it out and cut the tiles up to it? And I think actually, quite honestly, it's not cheating. It's a way of doing it. In the strict sense, people put the coving up first and they would tile to it, but I can't see any reason why you can't put a bit of lightweight coving up on top of the tiles, stick it, nice bit of adhesive around it, and then just caulk in underneath it where it joins the tiles, and it'll look nice because it would be the perfect cut and it'll save you a lot of fiddling around. So sometimes I think that's the answer, you know. And what people do in the future, you know, if they want to take those tiles off the wall, then they'll have to take a bit of coving down and renew it. But yeah, do that, I think. Do it the way you're thinking, which is just tile first, cove afterwards. So we've got a question here from Stuart. He doesn't want to give his surname, understandably, that's fine, Stu. And he said he's got an elderly father and he's just trying to do something for him. He said the bathroom is clad in this sort of tongue and groove plastic cladding, and it's creaking and groaning as it expands and contracts. He said he needs to redo the whole thing, so he's asking what he can do. The expansion and contractions coming from the fact that there's no room. I mean, but when you have material like that, you've got to leave some room around the side for it to expand and contract, because it has got a very high coefficient of thermal expansion, as they call it, and it needs some room to do that. I would take it down, and what I would do is I'd put up a plasterboard ceiling straight over the top of the old one. I wouldn't take the old one down, I would just get the new one. It's what we call overboarding, and you can just screw that straight up onto the ceiling. It's only a small room, so you probably get away without even plastering it. You can just tape and joint it, give it a few coats of bathroom paint. You know, the kind of thing you're after is something that's got mould resistance in it, not just cheap emulsion paint, because that will start to be mouldy. But it would also be a good idea to check the insulation on top of the roof to make sure that that's warm enough, because the more insulation you put on top of that ceiling, the less likely you are to have condensation. Because the other thing you need to do there, put in a good extractor fan, because a good extractor fan will take the moisture away before it starts causing damp and mould.